welcome to Soul Symbols. My name is Shelley. I'm a writer, an astrologer, and a card reader, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Happy Tuesday. It is How to Tarot Tuesday, and what that is it is a video series here on my channel where every week we talk about one of the 78 card tarot. The beginning of the video talks about the description and the symbols of the card, and then the second part of the video you can, and if you want to jump straight to it, there are timestamps in the description box. The second part of the video, you, the viewer, get to choose from one of 3 tarot decks to see how that tarot card manifests in your life currently. Now, what I do is I choose 3 tarot decks. The first deck is always the Rider-Waite-Smith to talk about the symbolism. The other 2 decks are also tarot decks, but I choose the decks that I think best represent the card in question that we're talking about. Now today we are talking about a tough card, and it is the culmination of a suit. Anytime you get to the 10 of any suit, kind of like playing cards, when you get to the 10, it's the last minor number before you get into the court cards. And the 10 of Swords is a particularly dreaded card. Like the 3 of Swords or like the 5 of Swords, it's the card that you do not want to see in a spread. But I always kind of look forward to these kind of cards because they get a very bad stigma. They get looked at as like the dreaded card. I always say they're the card that you want to clarify. The moment that the 10 of Swords comes out, you're like, okay, let me pull more cards, see what this means. And but it does have some positive meaning. It does. I always say there are no bad cards in tarot. The 10 of Swords is no different, but on a scale of like the top 10 dreaded cards, it ranks pretty high. So, looking forward to it. We're going to be tackling the tough topic, and we're going to be looking at it very in a very honest light. So, and if you're familiar with my channel, I don't hold back when we look at a card. We really look at all the nuances in it, and there's a lot to be said with this card. It can mean some positive things when you look at it in the right perspective, and of course surrounding cards go to telling the story a lot. It adds to the description. Now, if you ever want to if you ever want to skip straight to your reading, the timestamps are in the description below, as are the names and authors of the decks that I use. And today I'm going to be clarifying with the Oracle of the Echoes, which is an Etsy creator. And on top of it, I have a beautiful garnet stone. This deck is wonderful anytime, and I'll re-elaborate later. Anytime I want real answers, this is a very deep psychological kind of real, tell me the truth deck, but it's very gentle in the way that it describes very painful emotions, and I turn to it often anytime I need a deep psychological understanding of a situation. And I think when it comes to the 10, I was drawn to using that Oracle deck. Now, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone for checking out my my tarot deck review. There was a request from a watcher who wanted to see the tarot deck collection. I did post a video for that, and I posted a separate video that talked about the history of the Rider-Waite-Smith and some of my perception of some of the prints, some of the variations of the different Rider-Waite-Smith decks. If you want to check that out, there are timestamps, there are playlists here on my channel. But in addition, in the future, I am going to be doing separate videos for all of my Oracle decks. I have quite a few Oracle decks, so I'm going to be breaking it up into a series of videos. And this deck is going to be under the Psychology and Self-Help video. That's going to come out very soon. So if you want more details, or if you want to kind of see a brief review of it, please check out that video. It's coming soon. I'm going to try to post it prior to the holiday season. I did get a response, saying, okay, please show me your card collection. I will gladly do that. I'll just have to break it up into several videos. So they're more concise, shorter videos where you can really just see the topic and the type of card. And but definitely this deck is, all of my decks are very carefully curated, and this deck is very special to me, and I wanted to pull it out, especially with this subject matter, because this is kind of deep. And of course, you know, when we talk about the Ten of Pentacles, it's not a pleasant card, but we're going to go ahead and get into it. So to get started, I'm sorry, did I say the Ten of Pentacles? The Ten of Swords. To get started, the Ten of Swords is on, again, I mentioned it in the beginning, next to the Three of Swords, next to the Five of Swords. I think the Ten of I don't know why I keep wanting to say Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Swords kind of tops the list of most dreaded cards. So in the minors, it dreads, people do not like seeing this card, and understandably. Because what you see is you see a dark background, like a dark sky, like a completely devoid of light sky. There's a few dark gray clouds, and then a very, very thin line of yellow before you see mountains and gray. And then you see 10 swords piercing the back of a person. This person's very clearly on the ground. Their skin looks pale and devoid of any blood. And you do see a little bit of blood kind of spilling onto the ground. The ground itself looks very kind of a pale gray, like a muted tan, like almost like the sands of time. And of course, when you look at it, it is 10 swords in the back. And, you know, tarot readers, when we get this, hello, you know, I follow several really nice tarot readers. When they see this, they're like, okay, they immediately look at all the good meanings of it, and we are going to go over the good meanings of it. But the first and foremost, when you look at this card, you think, boom. The first meaning, top meaning, is put a fork in it. This is done. Put a fork in it. And you know, not trigger warning, you know, this card is this is a toughie card. This is a toughie card. So the first and foremost meaning is that, damn, you got hit. You're taking a hit, right? You're taking a hit. And what it is that the tens are a completion of a cycle. So when you look at 10 swords hitting somebody in the back, it usually means you are hitting the end of a cycle. This is the end. There is no future beyond this. This is it is kind of a dark night of the soul kind of card. And usually it is either mentally or psychologically, or because someone stabbed you in the back. So this is definitely not a pretty card, but it does have its good points. But first and foremost, it means you have bottomed out. You have bottomed out. And sometimes if you see this card next to the devil, or if you see this next to a court card in the reverse, it can mean someone who has put 10 swords in your back, right? The first thing that I kind of see when I look at it as a reader is that, you know, 10 swords are words. Swords are thoughts. They're spoken emotions. Sometimes it's spoken interactions. Sometimes it can be tweets. It can be something you viewed on social media. It can be something that was said to a friend that was relayed to you in confidence. Sometimes it can be just thoughts. Like, I know it's crazy. I always think of that scene in Harry Potter when you have that memory that you pour into the pensive, and, you know, you put your face in and you remember. It's that memory of something that happened. It's a memory of an event that goes through your head, but basically it means that someone was not true to you. You have had 10 events tear you down, cut you down, and weigh on your psyche, or be almost like one of those pins, you know, those you see those pins that you put into a map. They're like a timeline. There's a pin that was put into your memory that cut you down, that did not boost you up. It cut you down. It stabbed you in the back. So first and foremost, it kind of means defeat. It means a failure or a ruin. If you see this next to court cards, it usually means that it's related to love. You know, it could be someone that really wasn't true to you. Whenever you see this next to a court card that is related to love or cups, it usually means someone who did not treat you right. There's a lot of karma in this card, and when I see 10 swords, again, like the pensive, it's like you're remembering 10 events where someone really tore you down. They weren't there for you. Maybe they abandoned, maybe they cheated. Maybe it's a memory where they were looking at someone else. It's funny, there's this meme that comes across on Facebook all the time where you see this guy looking at what looks like a prettier girl walking by, but the irony is that she's not really prettier. The girl he's standing next to him and looking up at him like he's an asshole, because he's an asshole. It's a kind of a pervert card. And I'm sorry, I think of this meme every single time I see the Ten of Swords next to like maybe like the Knight of Cups, or, you know, the Knight of Wands in reverse. A real impulsive, falling the wrong head, pardon my French, kind of guy. And it can be for girls too. The girls are not innocent in this. If you're a guy watching this reading and you've been betrayed by a woman, you know what it is it's the thought that, hey, they're gonna find the next better thing. And I'm sorry, the grass is not greener. This person will probably be back in the future because they were a dumbass. But in the Ten of Swords moment, it's almost like you're remembering what it is it's the last straw. You've ever heard the expression, the straw that broke the camel's back. It's the last event. Maybe one time you were out with them and they looked at another girl very blatantly while you're out on a date with them. Maybe they admitted to you that they were flirting with someone else. If it's in a business sense or in a family sense, maybe someone really verbally betrayed you. You know, maybe you trusted them with something in confidence and they turned around and told everyone your business. If you see this, what looks next to like the Three of Cups, it could be betrayal in a social sense where someone kind of aired your business. The other thing is that I do see this whenever it's the last straw with like someone who's really not treated you right, and you're just standing up for yourself. So in a lot of sense, again, the horizon that you see here, it can either be a sunset or it can be a dawn of something new. So, and again, the Ten of Swords is the ending of a cycle. So we're about to get into that. There are some good points to the Ten of Swords, but a lot of times it's one of those situations, and I always look at it like this. It's one of those situations where someone did 9 shitty things to you, pardon my French. They did 9 backstabbing, completely immoral, lack of principle. It was their drama, not yours. And I'm sorry, you hear this, and I'm going to go ahead and quote it, which is really trite and it annoys me. Oh, it's not you, it's me. Yeah, you better believe it's you. When you can treat someone crappy 9 times, and then by the time you get to the 10th time, in a karma perspective, because I do see this card as karma, when you think about it, if you're a nice giving person, and believe me, I hate to use the psychological term narcissist, and then there's a paradigm between really healing people and really user people, and I'm not trying to make it that contrast, because there's shades of gradient between. You know, sometimes someone can just be really psychologically messed up. Maybe their family dynamic is messed up. Maybe they were really spoiled in childhood where they think they just deserve the best and they can treat people like crap. But the other thing is, the flip side of it is that, and we talked about this a little bit with the Nine of Swords, which really builds up to the Ten of Swords, because it's the precursor, is that sometimes when you grow up in a family where someone wasn't there for you, all of a sudden you become an overachiever where you try to earn their love. And sometimes that sets you off into the world to attract users. And I'm not defending this behavior, but sometimes you see the Ten of Swords in a reading because this is almost like a little bit of a spiritual lesson, and I'm not defending it because I hate those kind of messages. And believe me, when I went going into this reading, I'm like, oh great, I get to talk to people about the Ten of Swords. This sucks. Because I've been there and other people have been there, so I'm not trying to be trite or, condescending when I go through these messages. But what it usually means is that when you've opened yourself up to someone, the other thing is I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. When you are a healer type of person, a lot of times when those who have been abandoned, they're very quick to try to forgive or to be open to new people who will treat them the same way that other people in the past have treated them. So if you had a family dynamic, or maybe you had previous lovers that were not there for you, all of a sudden you might attract someone who is very... And I don't like to use the term narcissist because I don't think everyone's a narcissist. I think that's a very popular kind of... It's like a popular sticker right now for everyone. Oh, well, he's self-absorbed. He's a narcissist. That's not necessarily true. And there are levels of narcissism. Not to defend the person. They could very well be very, very freaking selfish. That's completely possible. But when someone's been hurt, and I've even heard this before, hurt people. So, someone comes around, they've been jilted and loved, and then they come around and you're very open with your love, and then they hurt you. But it's not just a one sword kind of hurt. They hurt you and hurt you and hurt you and hurt you and hurt you. You get 9 swords, and then what it is the 10th sword is like, okay, I'm being a doormat, right? Because that's the other meaning of this card. I'm being a doormat. I've let you betray my trust 9 times. I've let you hurt me 9 times. I've let you look at other women or other men 9 times. I've let you talk crap about me 9 times. I've allowed you to betray my confidence. And this can be among women to women, men to men. I've shared secrets with you in confidence, and you've turned around and told people my business without my consent. It's the last straw. And you do see blood here. It's like, okay, you're finally bleeding. And that's the 10 of Swords. It's the last freaking straw. You have hurt me this many times. And the crazy thing is that there are some, and I do believe that there are some spiritual dynamics that are meant to come into your life to teach you. And I hate those because, unfortunately, pain is a quick teacher. Lovey-dovey, completely honest relationships don't come along very often. A lot of times it is karmic lessons. If you believe in past life experience, it could be you making amends for previous activity. Maybe you treated someone badly in a previous life. And I don't 100% believe in that, but who knows? Maybe you are working through some karma of your own. But if someone's treated you like crap, it is a lesson to firm up your boundaries. And when we get into the court cards of the suit, the Queen and King of Swords is the mature feminine of Swords energy, and it's the mature masculine of Swords energy. And you best believe in a few weeks when we get into that energy, that's the best energy to combat some of this BS. Because what you're doing is, if someone stabbed you 9 times and you're finally getting to your 10th time where it's like, okay, I've had enough. Boundaries are required. But unfortunately, the 10 of Swords does mean that kind of betrayal where you finally reached the end of your rope. It means that you have, but the beautiful thing about it is, because it is the last card of the suit, it means that it's the culmination, it's the last stop. There's the train has ended its cycle. But the other beautiful thing about it is, it's like hitting rock bottom. Now, if you see this card next to like a devil card or something like that, it can mean addictions. It can mean like being codependent on something. maybe you had a relationship that you were really reliant on, and you're like, maybe it gave you a sense of self. And maybe a lot of times this card comes up because, again, that yellow can be either a sunrise or a sunset. It can be the end of this cycle. It can be that the other beautiful meaning about the 10 is that no other pain will come from this. And we're about to go into that with the middle deck. But you've come to the end of the cycle. You've had enough. The other thing that's really positive about this card, just to throw it out there, is that if you really have been stabbed this many times by someone, if someone has really put you through the ringer, what it means is in order for them to come back, because karma works in threes, at least I believe it does, it works in threes. If you've had 10 swords put in your back, if you've had 10 events where this person has proven themselves to be a really, pardon my French, a shitty person, they have to make that amends 3 times over. That's 30 events. If they want to come back in your life, that first event where they were looking at another person, they need to make amends 3 times. They need to show you 3 times that they're not looking at other people, that you're the only person that matters in their life. If they cheated you out of money, they have to prove 3 times that they are reliable, that they're here, they're going to pay back their debts, that they're not going to screw you over financially. And it's almost like you have to go sword by sword. One sword by every sword 3 times. You have to prove that you are a different person, that you're not going to pull that shit again. So this is a very, very powerful card for that reason. And I'm sorry, I know I'm cussing a lot in this video, but that's the kind of emotions that this energy invokes. It's about the dark before the dawn. In biblical terms, it really does mean the darkness of the soul. Sometimes you are going through a valley. My mom really talks about this, about being the times in life where she calls it the wormhole to something different. And I'll just share with you, my parents are divorced, and we had a very dark time, and it wasn't just about money. It was that dark time of separating from someone that you loved, that you cared about. And my mom even said she grieved. She grieved over the loss. So a lot of times if you see this next to the Lovers, this can be a divorce. If you see this next to the Justice card, it can be a really ugly divorce where you loved this person. You love this person. You're not trying to make this about money and child support and other crap. You love this person, but it became toxic. If you see this next to the Devil, it's a toxic situation and you can't stay there. You can't stay there. You have to get out. You have to get out. You have to turn that sunset into a dawn of something better. But a lot of times it is about things being at its lowest point and not being able to get any better. It has to get better from here. And that's where the 10 of Swords really does look like, it's preparing for an upturn, but you have to have that perpetual end. You have to hit that brick wall. The other thing is that, feeling like you're in the pit of despair. If you've ever seen The Princess Bride, where were we? Oh yeah, we were in the pit of despair. That's this card. It's feeling that kind of crappy, If you see this next to the 6 of Swords, and we had a tarot on that, that's actually a really good sign. You might be feeling a little numb, but you're healing. The other thing is, if you do see this next to the 3 of Swords, the 5 of Swords, it's usually that initial hit that took you out, right? Because the other meaning is 10 swords in the back. This can be sudden. Swords are sudden. Swords are like hourly or daily. When we look at a timeline, when you look at swords, it's either hours or days, which is really quick. So when you look at 10, it's funny when I see this card in a certain context, and again, you have to look at the surrounding cards. One theme that always comes to mind is if you've ever seen Ratatouille and you see Remy, there's this one scene where he steps on a cutting board and there's like 10 knives, different knives that are coming at him and he's running, right? That is the funniest image, and but it's true to this, is that when you see it, it's almost like, and half the reason that this is a dreaded card, it's the most dreaded card, right, in the minors, is that you think, oh my God, annihilation is coming. Annihilation's coming for me, right? So the other thing that it does is it means failure. It means ruin. If you see this next to Pentacles, it could be a failure of a business. It could feel like no matter what you tried, you're just totally taken out. Sometimes it can be that low point, and I do believe, as an astrologer, to put the astrologer hat on for a minute, I do believe that there are ebbs and lows of public opinion. And it's definitely strengthened by social media, and especially if you're watching this video at the time it posts in 2020, all of us are online. We barely go out into the real world and interact with people. So everything becomes this kind of trolling online. So sometimes this card can mean that someone totally, maybe you posted a video, TikTok, Instagram, maybe you posted a picture on Facebook. I mean, sorry, I know that's by today's standards a little, a little old person, but everybody loves Facebook. You can't dog Facebook. But maybe you posted something and it didn't go over well. Right? It didn't go over well. Maybe you got a bunch of negative comments. Well, this is dull. This is boring. Sometimes I see this with YouTube, and not in a bad way. I'm very fortunate that I have not gotten a lot of negative comments, but it was funny. I'll just put it in context. I used to have a microphone that it was like one of those little clip to your shirt microphones, and it had kind of hit or miss voice quality. When I had it pinned correctly, it sounded great, but if I ever bumped it or if I ever moved suddenly, it would have this booming sound. And I remember I got this really kind of trolling comment that was like, "Your sound quality is shitty," and I'm like, "Well, gee, thank you." And I will use this as a springboard to say, please be kind to your tarot readers. There's a lot of really wonderful tarot readers, and I see some really harsh comments. These folks take time out of their day. It takes a long time to film these videos. It takes a long time to upload them. A lot of times we make no profit off the free videos that you watch. So if the video quality is not the greatest, it is hard. I'll say that it takes about 3 hours to upload a video if it's running kind of long, and I try not to make them long, but the reason that they're 2 hours long is because I don't want to short you, the viewer, out of a quality of experience. I make no profit off this. I just do it out of the good of my heart to make people happy. So, again, sometimes it can be that experience. Maybe you posted something on Facebook or on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, and all of a sudden you get these trolling comments. The other thing that I kind of read when I see this card is, please take it in, and also in the more positive vein. Sometimes people are in a crappy mood. Sometimes, what does it says? Misery loves company. I do see this as the misery loves company card. Maybe someone is in a shit-ass mood. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe their life is not treating them right. And they turn around and they scrutinize or criticize your video or your content. But the other thing is that sometimes it can be positive feedback. I learn a lot. Again, after I got the bad review about my sound quality, I turned around and got a microphone, which you are listening to now, in a world where tarot. No, I'm kidding. It's a great microphone. But I learned from that feedback. So but long story short, sometimes it's a low time, maybe you're not the most popular person. And also, to put the astrology hat on, is if the sun is in an opposite sign of some prevalent planets, like right now at the time this video posts, the sun is going through Scorpio at a direct square to my Saturn. And it's funny, my Saturn is in Leo, the sun is in Scorpio, and it's funny, it makes people real deep, but it also, anything real flashy like Leo would be kind of like, well, you're being too flashy, you're being exuberant, you're being too, avant-garde. There are ebbs and tides to popularity. So don't take it personally. The other thing is that if you do get some crappy ass criticism from someone, look at it honestly, because it is there to improve you. It is there to make you better. But at the time, the other thing is that when I see this card, sometimes it can be you feeling really sensitive. Maybe you're having a really self-conscious week, and then someone says something crappy to you and it just tears you down. Now this really plays into the second card. I went with the Anna Tarot. And this is really amazing. You see a bunch of snow, and you see someone who is clearly bleeding after 10 swords have hit them, but they've stood up and they've walked away. So the second meaning of the Ten of Swords, and again, to give both, there's like 70% negative, 30% positive. It is feeling like a victim. And just like social media, and especially with the swords, again, that can be things that were said to you. Sometimes it can be that if you're in a job that requires a lot of communication, maybe it requires a lot of social interaction, because when you think about it, swords are air and swords are words. So, maybe you are an earth or water sign, and you're getting, when you think about it, air signs are Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra. And oh my gosh, guys, I'm a sun sign Libra, and I can tell you, we can be critical as hell. Geminis can be fickle as hell. Aquarians can just be really, they can be fickle, but they can be really eclectic. It's funny. Aquarians are wonderful. They embrace the new, but sometimes you can't really put a pin on them. One minute they're believing one thing, and the next minute they have a next new out there idea. So if you're like a Scorpio, Cancer, or Pisces, or if you're a Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo, and a Virgo is really careful about details, sometimes you can feel, the other thing is that water and earth signs are very slow moving, they're very emotional. Sometimes these real quick moving air signs, and believe me, I'm an air sign, I'm completely calling out my own suit with this, so I'm allowed to. I have a whole stellium in Libra. Sometimes, we can be fickle as hell, and it can really hurt the more emotional people. And what I kind of see with this card is I do see more air signs and earth signs, because earth signs represent the physical body, and then you have a bunch of swords that mean words. So a lot of times I do see this as like a battle between earth signs. Maybe you're a real practical Capricorn, maybe you're a real traditional Taurus, maybe you're a real stickler for details Virgo, and then this Gemini comes along and is like, well, this is what's popular, you're full of crap, you're too analytical. I'm not criticizing Geminis, because I love Geminis. They're the twins, and they get along with Libras really well. But a lot of times it's kind of the shifts in social perception that beat the hell out of the sensitive signs and the practical signs, right? Because they're more slow moving, they're more emotional, and then all of a sudden the tide of mental opinion, that real airy, I always think of it as the winds of change. And it's very true. And it's funny when you look at if you look at astrology as times change, sometimes things are really in fashion that really go against, like, for instance, something will come into trend and it'll be like, well, the 50s were so yesterday, but then inevitably fashion turns again and then says, oh, well, the 50s are so it, and it's one of those things where sometimes these swords can be public opinion that totally annihilates you, and it's destined to change because they're vapid. Like air, it will evaporate, but right now it's just really cutting and really in your face. But a lot of times it is, criticism of your longtime work, criticism of you expressing your opinion, your emotional feelings about something, and it's usually social media forum, a social media forum. So a lot of times it is feeling powerless. It's kind of bemoaning your fate. Again, when I see this card, it's like, oh my God, something's coming for me. It's just going to take me out. Again, like Remy and Ratatouille. I got 10 swords. It's going to take me out. But it's feeling like life is hostile, right? Maybe you are. The other thing is that if you're a water or earth dominant sign, again, look at your chart, maybe you feel like you have to go into your shell because there's so much verbal going around. You just feel like it's not safe. That's the other thing. You can feel like it's not safe to really say what you feel, to say what you think, or to display your work. And I do think that timing really plays into that, because yes, people are fickle. People are fickle, and society is fickle, and a lot of times that will show up a lot as the Ten of Swords. It can be that you suffered an attack, like maybe someone really took you out. The other thing is that if you see it around court cards, it can mean that, maybe you trusted, or maybe you were a part of a group and they turned around and turned on you, or one person turned on you. Maybe someone did an expose on you. I do kind of see this as the expose card. Maybe someone talked to you and they acted like they're your friend, and then they turned around and totally. I take this a little bit as the media spin. And especially when the person, because when you think about it, if you've been stabbed 10 times, how in the hell can you stand up and walk away? But that is really the regenerative qualities of the Ten of Swords. This is the other positive thing is this is the last pain that you will get from this. This person, if someone said something about you, if something wrote something about you, this is the end. This is the worst that the pain is going to get, because you've reached the apex. You've reached the top of all of this shit. And the other thing is that you've had enough. Again, we talked about this being the last straw. You put a fork on it, you've had enough. You're not going to deal with any more of this crap. You know that this person betrayed you. You're not going to trust them again. But a lot of times it is that expose energy. Now, moving into the last card, I went with the Linestrider Tarot by Siolo Thompson. And I talked about this a little bit in the tarot deck review. This is a painful card. And believe me, it's funny, I almost wanted to go with the vice versa tarot, but I didn't want to sugarcoat it, because the Ten of Swords, I'm going to keep it real. You know me, if you follow my channel, when I how to tarot, we keep it real here. And the Ten of Swords is about pain. It's about sudden betrayal. Sometimes it could be 10 swords coming at you at once. Sometimes it can be 9 swords that came over a period of time, and that 10th one just did you in. But when you look at this poor deer, and it breaks my heart. I almost can't look at this card, because when you look at a majestic stag, and I am going to reference a movie with this third card. I always think of the movie The Queen with Ellen Mirren. She represents Queen Elizabeth, and it talks about the history around the time that Princess Diana's death and how the monarchy in England handled it. And I think Helen Mirren did such a beautiful job in this movie, but there's this one scene where she's looking at a stag, and then she learns, she has this earth spirit moment, this connection with the stag, as if she's a monarch and he's a leader, and they're one of the same. They're of the same ilk. And she later learns that someone took out the stag, right? Because people hunt deer. They want the antlers. They want the head on their wall. And here I kind of think of that scene, because it's like this stag, his beauty, his leadership is marred, it's mutilated by the fact he's stabbed with 10 swords. It's like, okay, wouldn't one through the heart be enough? You stab him through the legs, you stab him through the hip, you stab him through the neck. He almost, you can't even piece him back together. And so when I see that card in particular, I think that's usually a power play. And that's another thing, it's being a martyr, right? Sometimes it can be a death of a matter, especially it being swords. So, maybe if you're in politics, if you're a leader in some sort, maybe you had some kind of cause that was important to you that got shot down. If this is like, if I live in North America in the United States, so maybe if it's a bill that was really important, that mattered a lot, and it got dismissed, and there's no way for you to fight that fight again. It's done. It's dead. If it's something that's real important to you, I actually have a second channel here called Eco Girl in a Modern World, and I talk about environmental topics. Things like GMOs, genetically modified organisms, which really play a lot into our food quality. I really do think it's the number one effect of people having stomach problems. If you get a chance, please check it out. I will have a video about that. But it's like, it's these things that are very, very important causes that get shot down. And again, it plays into public opinion. You know, the timing is really important if you're broaching a subject at the wrong time. We also, as a nation, if you're watching this at the time that this video posts, we did just go through an election. So, you know, sometimes it can be the loss of election. It can be a dominating unpopularity of a subject. But the irony is that the tides always turn. You know, what was taboo at one point can later turn around and be like, damn, why didn't I pay attention to that when it was being presented at the first time? There's actually, just to play into this, there's a great video called The Future of Food that talks about the GMOs, and it talks about the Monsanto company. If you get a chance to check it out, I feel like that really plays into the Ten of Swords, because it went up to the Supreme Court, and the judges on the Supreme Court are very important. But again, you know, just playing this back to the Ten of Swords meaning, sometimes it can be that, well, this, gosh, you know, it's just feeling like a martyr, you know, feeling like you're putting, like your cause got totally annihilated. You got put last. But sometimes hitting that rock bottom is the starting point of coming back up again. But when you look at it, it's like, again, 10 swords in this beautiful stag. Wouldn't one be enough? Just kill them with one sword. Why did it have to be 10? Sometimes it can mean vindication, like someone was out to take you out and not only just kill you, but sometimes sometimes in a morbid sense, this card can mean really extreme violence. If you know someone who died from not just one gunshot, but many, you know, which is really scary. But again, it's that total annihilation where you feel like someone not only just killed you with one bullet, they killed you with 50. The other thing is that this can mean extreme enemies. If you see this next to a court card, it can be someone who not only wants to take you out, they want to make you suffer. Now, putting the astrologer hat on, if you see this next to Scorpio or Pluto energy, it can be that kind of energy. Pluto, it's funny, I always say Mars energy, which is more Aries, is very fiery in the sense that if they dislike you, yeah, they'll take it's. I always think of it like the flame of a grill. It flames up. It might take your eyebrows off, but later on they'll be like, "Oh, you were a good. You know, you were." Aries and Mars energy appreciates good competition, but they don't hold a grudge. Scorpio and Pluto energy, oh my God, if you piss them off or betray them, they will not only want you to lose, they will make you suffer. So in that same vein, if you have a work competitor, if this is legal or political, if you have someone who is an opponent, they not only want to make you lose, they want to make you suffer. They want to make you hurt. It's not just the one arrow to the heart. It is 10 arrows that make you I always call this the closed casket card, right? They want to mutilate you, right? Where you can't come back. Now, sometimes it can be an event from your past if you did do something underhanded that's coming back to haunt you, because this card does follow the Nine of Swords. So maybe you did do something that totally ruined your reputation. That can be a Ten of Swords meaning. But the other vein is that a lot of times, and again, when you see this person, they don't have any armor on. And they're bleeding as they walk away, and it's this majestic deer, and deer are usually very passive. You know, the stag is the leader of their family, and they're the ones with the antlers. They're the ones who will fight. The other thing that I kind of see, especially with the third deck, is that maybe you were the leader for some kind of cause, and you had to take the fall for your group. So sometimes it can be you being the martyr, as in the scapegoat. It can be the sacrificial lamb kind of card where maybe you had to stand up. I do see this card as sometimes as in someone has to take the fall, and I'd rather it be me than the other innocents that follow me. So if this is the downfall of a company, maybe the CEO, and in that sense, it can be very reputable, where the CEO takes full responsibility and says, please don't blame my employees, it was me. The other thing is that maybe you're taking a hit for someone. I call this refer this as to the stepping in front of the bus card, where you'd rather take 10 swords to avoid hurting someone else. And in that same vein, it's very similar to the 10 of wands. It's almost like you're taking the hit, even though it would take you completely out. And it's you being a martyr, right? It's you being a martyr. But a lot of times it does just mean that you're being a doormat. Maybe you're taking the back seat to something and letting other people get their way. Sometimes this, and I don't like the term fake news because I'm not really into that. I do believe a lot of media outlets report things accurately, but sometimes it can be that celebrity who's being completely slandered. Sometimes it can be that being outnumbered, either by a clique or on social media, or someone who's really, again, we talked about vindication with this card. Maybe someone's out to make you look bad. And right now it's a low time. It's a low tide time. It's not your time to redeem yourself, but that time will come. So a lot of times if you are innocent, sometimes you do have to take the hit and be the martyr, right? But the other thing is that sometimes you do have to take the hit in order to let other things go first. It's like choosing your battles, right? Sometimes you have to lose the battle in order to win the war. And sometimes that might affect your personal, the stance of you as a person. So a lot of times it does mean that you're sacrificing. The other thing is that sometimes this is a very strong spiritual lesson that just means that you're being a little too soft, you're being a little too vulnerable, people are taking advantage of you. But when it comes to situations and advice, it just means that your plans are not working out. What you really wanted to work is not, it's failing, and it hurts. It really hurts. Maybe someone's trying to make you look bad. Maybe someone's taking you down. If it's next to a cups card, maybe someone betrayed you. The other thing is that they not only betrayed your trust, they might have betrayed your confidence, they may have cheated on you. And it's one of those things that it is kind of the put a fork in a card where you cannot take this person back. If someone has shown you this kind of lack of confidence, of this lack of honesty, it's really like this is done. I do see this in marriage cards or relationship cards as being like, don't call me, don't even bother. And I can say from personal experience, I was in a 7.5-year relationship that ended really bad. If that person tried to call me, I would block their number because it's like, no, I'm not even going to give you the opportunity after 9 swords, after what you did. After what you did, I have hit rock bottom. I've come back up. I have grown after that experience. I've turned that sunset into a sunrise. Don't call me. Don't bother. So, emotionally, this person walking away, that is completely your right. You have bled for this situation. The other thing is that sometimes as advice, this is Spirit's way of saying you've given enough. You've given enough. You've had, a lot of times it's change being forced upon you in a very painful way, and you have learned your lesson through pain. The other thing is that sometimes I do see this card as being kind of spiritual protection. The only problem is that I do believe that the universe was trying to protect you, but maybe through free will, you gave someone that wasn't reputable another chance and it really hurt you. But again, that sunset can be a sunrise if you view it that way. But sometimes, again, when you see it next to the devil card, it can be someone who has hit rock bottom, meaning that, maybe with their addictions, and that can be alcohol, it can be drugs, it can be, gambling. Sometimes it can be, if it's a man, it could be womanizing. If it's a woman, it can be, someone who's a really bad flirt and who always jumps from relationship to relationship. You hear that phrase that's like, oh, well, this behavior is not killing it, it's killing me. This is kind of that, that it's the acknowledgement that you can't continue this way. And again, swords being mental, you can't continue this way. You have to, it's a sudden clarity because it's swords, but it's a sudden realization that, you have suffered loss, you have debilitated yourself, you have been the martyr. And in astrology, Pisces is the 12th house, and it's the last house before you go into the first house of starting anew. So a lot of times it's like, you know. Now if you do see this in the read of another person, someone, it can be someone who's in danger. It can be a warning sign that someone's about to be stabbed in the back, or someone's the last interpretation that I get from this, and it's not really a positive one, but again, it's the Ten of Swords. What can you do? But I also refer to this as the train wreck card. And it's usually when you see someone going down a path, you know that they're trusting someone they shouldn't trust. You know that they're acting, without practicality, and they're going to get hit. That train wreck, you're like, again, two trains colliding, you're like, oh God. And the crazy thing is, a lot of times it is in the public eye. It's either on social media, you see someone that this is going to end ugly, this is going to end badly, but you can't look away because you're like, you don't, the other thing is it's something you don't see every day, and you're like, oh my God, how's this going to end? I know it's going to be ugly, but I can't look away. Now, when you look at the Ten of Swords in reverse, the first meaning that you get is that the worst is over. Again, any card in the reverse is usually the dissipation, the release of the energy, or the energy getting really, really bad. So when you look at it in the positive sense, the Ten of Swords in the reverse is probably one of the most positive cards out there. It just means, oh God, thank goodness, a change for the better is coming. This sunset is turning into a sunrise. There's no other pain that can come from the source. The other thing is that in the reverse, it usually means whatever, if this was a trolling, if this was some kind of social disgrace, if this was some kind of downfall in some kind of personal popularity or personal, perception, you've finally gotten far enough away from it where it's getting better, or you feel better. It's the end of a cycle, and it's a new beginning. You're coming out of the valley. You talk about walking through the valley, and I mentioned in the last video, there's a great song by Jenny Owings. It's Genny, and then last name is Owens, and it's called If You Ask Me To. And it's a religious song. It's a Christian song that talks about, it's like her speaking to God and saying, if you asked me to walk through the valley, I would. And the Ten of Swords is really walking through the valley. The Ten of Swords in reverse is like finally getting through the end. It's the you're seeing the end of it. You're coming out of the woods. You're out of the woods, right? The other thing is, it's surviving a real disastrous situation. Maybe there was verbal slander. The other thing is that if you acted on the level, if you know that you did the right thing and someone made you look bad, that time is ending, and the public is starting to see your side of the story. So a lot of times I do see the 10 in reverse, especially with it being swords. It's like, I'm finally getting to tell my side of the story. So maybe someone really knocked you down and said, well, this person's crap. They did this to me, blah, 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 blah. So if this is in a clique situation, if it's in an ex situation, if it's a breakup, you're getting your side of the stories told. And the other thing is that when I see the 10, it usually means the other person is showing their ass, where they're revealing that they were the bad person in the situation. So if you see this in the 10 of Swords in reverse next to like the 7 of Swords in reverse, or the 7 of Swords, it means the other person's going to get outed for being the bad guy, for being the person who started this shit and made it look like it was your fault. The other thing is that if it is in a reading where, if it's related to the way that you treated someone, maybe you feel bad. If this is next to the 10 of Swords in reverse next to the 9 of Swords, which we How to Tarot on last week, maybe you did something. There's another oracle card deck that I'll be showing in my relationship deck review. The love and relationship decks that I have, that says, it was my fault, but I blamed you. A lot of times that's the 10 of Swords in reverse next to, the 7 of Swords in reverse, or the 5 of Swords in reverse. Someone made it look like it was your fault, but they totally orchestrated that crap. But you took the fall. You were the martyr, and you're finally getting redemption for that. But sometimes it can be turning to a higher power, turning to God or your higher power and saying, how can I get out of this dark night of the soul? Where you really do feel better. You feel better. You did take a hard lesson. You took a hard hit. But again, I've said in previous videos, especially in like the 6 of Swords, sometimes you have to put your ear to the ground and just be still for a minute, because you've had a loss. The other thing is the 10 of Swords, you have to be gentle with yourself. You've bled. you can't just pop up like a daisy. I always say this, don't pop back up like a daisy, because you had 10 swords to the back. And honestly, anyone who put 10 swords in your back, they don't deserve to be in your life. So if you're recovering from that, give yourself time. Give yourself time, and definitely don't let whoever did that to you back in. Sometimes it can be a return from the dead, where, maybe you've been through a crappy situation. Maybe it's been a few years from a really tough divorce, or maybe you're in a custody battle with a child. If you see this next to a justice card related to money, sometimes it can be that you're finally getting out of the woods for something that really went on a long time. The other thing is that there's a lot of psychological healing that comes with this. When I see the Ten of Swords in reverse, I usually mean that a therapist might be advised, because that's a lot of hurt. It's a lot of hurt, and it affects your ability to trust. It affects your ability to trust, and I definitely understand that. And that's also why I'm going with the oracle cards that I'm going with. But it usually means that, things are getting better. You can actually see the silver lining. And there might be a few things that can be gleaned from this situation. Again, that, you can start to feel better and see, you can look back on the situation and say, okay, what did I learn? Which is and if you can do that, you are a very evolved person. You're spiritual elite, because many of us have had Ten of Swords moments in our lives, and they're not pretty. That's why it's a dreaded card. Now, one other meaning of the Ten of Swords in reverse is that it can be the extreme. It can be that not only the card is not getting better, but it's getting worse. Sometimes it can be drastic change that you feel is not letting up. Maybe you've been divorced and you have to move, and you feel like it's just getting worse and worse and worse. It can be chronic, drawn out problems. It can be chronic disgrace. If you feel like you're being bullied, or you feel like if you have done something that casts you in a bad light, it's like you can't escape it. It's like haunting you or following you. Sometimes it can be a life-threatening illness, and it's just weighing on your mind, where you feel, when I see it in reverse in the extreme, I sometimes hear the expression dead man walking. But the other thing I want you to bear in mind is that these are thoughts. And energy follows thought. So if you're putting that perception, if you are going through a really rough time where you feel like crap, if your mind follows that pattern of thinking, well, I'm going to die, or this is not getting better, you're going to start getting worse because of that thought pattern. And definitely, I'm not trying to downplay anyone who has a really bad chronic illness, because you have to face that in a real way. Maybe you do have to go through steps of some kind of acceptance. They talk about the 5 steps. You feel anger, you want to barter, you want to, there are steps to acceptance before you finally say, okay, this is what I'm going through. This is what's happening. I need to accept it. But the other thing is that keeping a positive attitude, just saying that this is the outcome and there's nothing I can do to change it, does not help you. And sometimes do try to hold on to a little bit of that silver lining that says that there's a slight chance that this could get better. This could be a sunset, or it can be a dawn of something better. It's the dark night of the soul for a reason. So, and believe me, my heart goes out. I've had family members who have had really scary chronic illnesses where we thought that they were not going to pull through, and they did. So it's like one of those things where, but when you look at it in the reverse, it can be that the other thing is that when your body feels like it's going against you, you almost feel defeat, you feel ruin in your mind. And that is the extreme of the 10 in the reverse. But, a lot of times it can be reoccurring difficulties that are just popping back up and not getting better, getting worse. It can be disruptions, really bad disruptions. It can be those life-changing moves. Maybe, it can be eviction. It can be loss of a job. It can be something that came out of the blue that totally made you feel bottom of barrel. The other thing is that the last thing that it is that sometimes the 10 of Swords, both in the upright and reverse, can be someone who is feeling like it's the worst, right? Because the 10 is Swords, meaning mindset. And mindset is very important. If you feel like nothing is good. So sometimes the Ten of Swords can be that you are completely tearing yourself down because you think nothing's going to get better. The other thing that I kind of see with this, especially in the reverse, and not to downplay it, but sometimes it can be that real Debbie Downer kind of perception. It can be that person who is acidically negative. Someone who is like, well, this is crap, it's never going to get better. It's one of those person who spits daggers, right? And the other thing is that sometimes if you see it in more of a lighter kind of, if you see surrounding cards, sometimes it could be someone who's being melodramatic. Because when you think about it, one sword is enough to stab this person. Why do you have to go with 10, right? So sometimes in the reverse or in the upright, it can be someone who's like, woe is me. I'm the victim. This person did this to me. And again, with it being swords, sometimes it can be that person who always dramatizes the way that they've been treated as if they've been, again, it can be playing the victim in the sense that it's playing up to other people in order to get sympathy. So that can be the negative side of it too. But again, sometimes it can be stabbing news. Like if you did get news of a death or a serious illness, or possibly if you get that call from a doctor that says, okay, this is terminal. And that is where this really breaks my heart, because sometimes it can feel that way. It can be like, okay, maybe you did get a second opinion, maybe you got a third, fourth, all the way through 10th opinion. It can be, just that debility. It can be that phone call or that message that you see. Okay, yes, you suspected someone was cheating on you and then they flat out blatantly betrayed you. It can be a friend that turns around and betrays your confidence. It can be the downfall in a public arena. But a lot of times the other thing with it being 10 is that it can be a where you really look back and think, God, I've suffered with this long enough. I've suffered with it long enough. It can be someone who is threatened with death. It can be someone who has suffered for a long time. They've felt pain for a long time. The other thing that I do read it as is, because it's usually in the back, it can be someone who's suffering with a back problem. And goodness knows, if you've been in an accident that has broken your back, I can just say from personal experience, my dad had a cracked vertebrae. So if you've thrown out your back or having back problems, sometimes in a very literal expression, it can be that, someone who's having a very debilitating back problem, because that can make you immobile, and that's very hard to deal with. The other way that I kind of read it is it could be someone who had a near-death experience, someone who is in a car accident, or the other thing that I can kind of read it as is that, again, if you see it next to more lighter surrounding cards, it can be someone who's going through acupuncture, or someone who is trying to kind of mitigate their stress or their muscle problems or some kind of systemic problem. Because the other thing is I see it as points throughout the body where they are just really misaligned. They're not in sync. So sometimes I can see this as being someone who has either muscle problems or immobilization from either some kind of chronic disease, muscle disease, back problem, or possibly, chakras in a more spiritual sense that they have to work through in order to make their alignment right. But whether in the upright or the reverse, the Ten of Swords is a very powerful card. Again, that sunrise can be a sunset. That sunset can be a sunrise. You pull those 10 swords out and say, okay, I've experienced this disgrace. I've experienced this betrayal. Other people know about it. I know about it, but I'm going to move on from it. I'm not going to let it define my life. So, you being stabbed, it's sometimes those low points in life where you have hit rock bottom, but you are still breathing, you are still living, and as long as you are alive, you are vital, and you can bounce back from this. It's just going to take work, but that's the beautiful thing about the 10, is that it's the end of the cycle, and you're ready to start again. And so that's the meaning. Now, that concludes the How to Tarot part. I know that was a very deep one. Again, it's one of the top 5 least liked cards. But we're going to go ahead and get into the tarot spread. You have 3 decks here. You, the viewer, get to choose. After you choose your deck, we will do a quick spread to see how does the Ten of Swords manifest in your life currently. The first deck, we have the Rider-Waite Smith by AGM, and with it we have a beautiful sunstone. The second deck is the Anna K Tarot, and with it we have a beautiful smoky quartz. The third deck is the Linestrider Tarot by Siolo Thompson, and we have a pretty blue fluorite. It's kind of hard to tell in the lighting, but... And then we are going to be clarifying with the Oracle of the Echoes, which is a gorgeous deck. It's by an Etsy creator. And oh, Spirit Heals. I love this deck. It's very deep. It talks very real world, and it really gives a great illustration of the deep emotions going on. And on top of it, we have a garnet stone, which is great for clearing, and it's good for banishing really toxic emotions. So it's good for clearing things out. But I'll go ahead and freeze frame. If you need more time, please pause the video, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back, and we're going to go ahead and start with the first deck, which is the Rider-Waite Smith. Let's go ahead and see, how does the Ten of Swords manifest in your life? Okay, current energy. Wow. And then future energy. Okay, please clarify. Okay. I am seeing the Three of Swords and the Devil, so, gosh, guys. Let's go ahead and get your Oracle of the Echoes. And again, this is by a wonderful author on Etsy. I will post all of the information in the description box below. Ten of Swords. Limitless. Okay. All right. So, gosh, guys, in the past, wow, guys, I'm really getting a sense. I really am getting a sense. We have a lot of pentacles here. I am getting a strong sense of self-worth from this deck, from this read. I get the sense that maybe in the past it could have been related to some kind of failures in the past. It could have been a failure either in business, or maybe you attempted to, get a certain job or do something specific, and then you felt like it's funny. I love to watch the show Mysteries at the Museum, and what it does is it gives a lot of stories about people who created the inventions that we use today. Like, for instance, the maker of Xerox. He was a stenographer. He made copies at the turn of the century before there were Xerox machines. You'd pay people to handwrite copies of documents, and he started to get carpal tunnel in his hands, and he thought, oh God, I'm never going to be able to work again, and I'll be ruined, right? But from that conundrum, from that challenge, he thought up the technology that later became a Xerox machine. And it's funny, when you watch that show, there's a million kind of stories like that. Someone who really hit a brick wall with what they were doing, and what it did is that, you know how you've heard of the expression rejection is God's protection, or I've just seen so many success stories where someone started off doing one thing. They were good at one thing, and then they ran into a problem, and it kind of veered them off. It kind of, it's like a fork in the road, and that took them down into a direction, and a whole new direction that became a specialization. from which they become very renowned. And this is the story that I'm kind of seeing here, except what I'm seeing here is that it's almost like you doubt your ability, right? When you run up against ruin, or when you feel like you were not successful at something, you don't. I'm getting a sense that you don't try again. And the universe is trying to really encourage you to try again. Like, for instance, the creator of the light bulb, what is it, Thomas Edison. I think he tried like 276 times. He had 275 failures, you know? And when you think about it, you know, oh my God, you know, he didn't just fail once, he failed a million times, you know? The same thing is, you know, when you're passionate about something, sometimes the other thing is that there's kind of an uncertainty that comes with it. You know, when you fail, you sometimes when you feel like it's a failure, you just feel like, oh God, you know, I'll never be good at this, right? And it does, it wears you down. So what I'm kind of seeing here is that there's a tenacity that's required, and I think you have that tenacity in your heart. I think in your spirit you are very determined. And the universe, I really get a sense, because we have the High Priestess here, the universe is really kind of trying to encourage you to focus on what you're passionate about, to try not to let what you deem as quote unquote failures to deter you. They're just there to they're there to be a catalyst to push you into a new direction. Like, for instance, here on YouTube, there's a great card maker who started off as a scrapbooker, and she was great at scrapbooking, but then she started to see how papercraft could be translated using stamps and ink and you know, embossing techniques, and now she has an entire channel that is dedicated to making cards, handmade cards. It is like, it's almost like that, you know, the end of a cycle for one thing does not mean that you're never going to be successful. It just means that maybe there's some kind of variance, and the faith in yourself makes all the difference. So in the past, I see that you just see that it's almost like you're looking at it like things are not growing fast enough, right? I'm really kind of getting a sense that maybe you're doing a job that's a little bit more rote, like repetitive, and you're just looking at it like, yeah, I make money, but this is not, you know, where is this going? It's not giving me what I need, right? And then your present energy, you have the Ten of Swords, and then you have the High Priestess. The High Priestess leans back. She's inactive. But what she sees is she sees both the what we call the 3D and the 5D. The 3D is the real world, you know, the interactions that you have every day. The 5D is that spiritual world. It's almost like your spiritual mission, what you're here to do. And the High Priestess understands your life purpose, and she also understands where you are physically in the corporal body that you're in right now. And what she's seeing is she's seeing that you feel like you failed. You feel like, the other thing is that I'm getting a little bit of a midlife crisis from this pile, and believe me, it's okay. Midlife crises are there to, if you've gone, think of it as you walking through a path through the woods. If you've walked the same path, if you have not made any deviation, and you start to get into the middle of your life, you start saying to yourself, I got this specialization in this career, or I got this specialization, I know everything about this, I know I've been married, I have kids, I want to do something different, but I haven't, it doesn't seem to be happening for me. You hit a point where you're like, God, I feel like a failure. I didn't do what I loved to do when I was young. I never pursued it. Why didn't I pursue it? Or, you know, I've followed this career path this far, and it's not giving me what I used to. It's kind of like that mental ending, but your inner self knows that there's a higher purpose to this. I think it's a Zen saying, maybe it's a Japanese saying, that says, fall down 7 times, get up 8. And again, it's having that tenacity to say this failure is just honing you. It's honing your skills, because when Edison was trying to create the light bulb, he failed over 200 times, but each time he got better at it. The other thing is that if you're trying at something, maybe you're trying at a YouTube channel, maybe you're trying at a TikTok channel, maybe you're learning about stuff, maybe you've applied for a million jobs in the field that you want to get, but you keep getting turned down. It's not telling you that you're not meant to have it. It's saying that there's something else about this experience that's supposed to make you feel like you've hit rock bottom in order for you to start again and add more to your knowledge base. There's something else that you need to know, right? And this isn't to tear you down. It isn't to tear you down. What it is that sometimes when you hit that bottom point, what it's doing is it's setting it. I always refer to it as a hard reset. Sometimes those painful moments in your life where you feel like you failed, whether it be at marriage, at a career, at a job, they set you back. It makes you realize what's important to you, right? And I've definitely had that. I've been demoted at a job. I've even though I've done it for 20 years, and I'm thinking, God, what did I do wrong? It's nothing that you did wrong. Maybe the universe needs you to be on a different path, and you can't continue on the path that you're on. So it kind of has to give you a hard ending. It has to give you a hard ending. The other thing that I kind of get from this is that maybe you were sticking with it because it had a practical kind of compensation for you. Maybe it paid good money. But it's one of those things where just because it pays good money and it's familiar, does that mean that you have to stay with it? No, because you blink of an eye, 10 years passes, you're in your 60s, this is your career, and you've never gone back to what you were passionate about. Sometimes these Ten of Swords moments aren't there they're not there to punish you. Sometimes sometimes they are a hard ending, because pain is a quick teacher, and you can turn around and turn that into something else. So what I'm kind of seeing here is that maybe there was something that was not paying enough money, or something that was really not satisfying you, but you stuck with it because it was reliable, is what you knew. And it's almost like in your heart of hearts, there was an ending. There was an ending that you knew that was coming. You knew it was coming, and it came, and it hurt, and it felt like a failure. It made you feel like you were not good enough. But the amazing thing about this situation is that, again, it's like putting your ear to the ground. There's this moment of quiet in this failure, this perceived quote-unquote failure, because again, this sunset can be a sunrise for you. This is the end of a cycle. You're not going to get any more pain from this circumstance. And the High Priestess, she has a knowing expression on her face. There's something unknown in this situation, and she also has the cycles of the moon in her crown. There's something that's going to come from this. There's something that you're going to learn from this. It hurts like hell. It feels like a defeat. You feel like a failure. But there's a higher purpose to this event. And as you go forward, what it is that it's meant to develop your tenacity. It's meant to develop your willingness to go on. You're not going to let this defeat you. You're going to hold out even though you're exhausted. So this could be, with it being both of I'm seeing a lot of pentacles and wands. So I do see this as that maybe this was a hard transition for jobs. Maybe you were doing a career that wasn't really satisfying, and then, and goodness knows, we're in 2020. There's a lot of paradigm shift going on. Maybe something ended and it was kind of sudden and it really hurt, and it felt like a betrayal. It felt like a failure. But as you go forward, you're like, okay, I'm going to learn from this. The Knight of Pentacles is he's on a mission. He's on a mission, and you're not going to give up. You're not going to give up. The thing that I'm seeing here is that you're gonna keep trying. But the thing that I am getting is that this did hurt like hell, and it did feel like a failure. But I think this is developing belief in yourself. The other thing is that sometimes these moments really kind of act like a catalyst. They propel you in the direction that you're meant to go. And it is, I'll be honest, it's a wormhole to something better, guys. It's a wormhole to something better. You're on a mission, and you're going to find what the Knight of Pentacles gets where he's going. He really does. He does. But the other thing is that this has been a long haul. Maybe this has been like a spiritual journey. The other thing that I'm kind of getting is that maybe this was a job that was paying enough, but it wasn't really satisfying, and you had to have a sudden end. But there's a higher purpose to this sudden end, and right now you're on the search, you're on the mission for something better. But it does feel like it feels like a long haul. But just, stay strong is what it's telling you. The other thing is with this being wands is this is going to be something that really means something to you. It's going to be, if you do find a new job, it's going to be something that you can put your heart, you can put your spiritual expression into. And it's going to pay the same money and then eventually more. But just pursue it. The other thing I'm getting is this doesn't have to be a fast pursuit, because the other thing is with the Ten of Swords, that's a painful event. That takes some time to heal from. So this doesn't have to happen overnight. Just stay strong. The other thing is take care of yourself. You've been through a lot. This is the other thing. You've been through a lot. Please be kind to yourself. But go slow, because there's something, the other thing is that holding that pentacle, there's a new beginning out there for you. There's really a new beginning out there for you. The other thing is that you got the oracle card you got is self-involved, and you see this bubble with this woman inside of it. And what I'm kind of getting is, I'm really getting the sense, I'm getting a sense that these are either your ancestors or your spirit guides or God, telling you that you need to care about your needs, have to be the ones that come first right now. Because you have been through the war. You've been through a really, really tough time. And I think what this is this is a hard reset time for you, where you can really, you can find something good, guys. It's going to be a little bit of a journey, but you can find something good. But I think what it's advising you to do is put your needs first. What do you want? What makes you feel alive, right? Because I promise you, not only is it out there, but once you find it, it's going to pay the same money and gradually even more. It's going to be better than what you were doing before. So this ending, it's funny. I've had moments in my life like this too. I've left a crappy job and I'm like, oh my God, is that the best I'm ever going to have? No, that ending was just a stepping stone. It's going to feel like a long haul, and you're really going to have to, you're going to need to take care of yourself, because you're going to feel worn down, but it's out there for you. So take your time, be kind to yourself, be self-involved, put your needs first, the other thing I'm kind of getting is put yourself in a bubble, because you need to, you've been through a lot, and you need to be mindful of your own healing. The other thing I kind of get is that you do need to put kind of a shield against you in the world right now, because you need to be kind to yourself. But there's definitely, the Knight of Pentacles always gets where he's going, and this is a great new opportunity for you. I think there's something out there for you that's going to make you much happier, and it's going to be true to your spiritual. I also think it's going to be one of those things that really makes you happy, in the sense that, when you wake up in the morning, you're happy to go to work. And that is amazing. That's something that's really, really wonderful. So wow, guys, that's a good reading. I do think, again, take care of yourself, because I think you're in a transition time. I see a lot of 9s and 10s, so you're coming to the end of a cycle, but hang in there, you're almost there. So deck number 2, we've got the Anna K. And let's go ahead and see how does the Ten of Swords manifest in your life? And I'm just going to do a very quick shuffle. Got the Magician on the bottom of the deck. All right, so deck number 2. How does the Ten of Swords manifest in your life? Wow. Middle of the deck, please. Current energy. Current energy, please. One card. Okay, this flipped. Oh, wow, guys. And end of the deck, please. Okay, future energy. Oh, wow, you got all pentacles. And the Two of Swords. Two of Swords. Alright, let's go ahead and get your oracle deck from the Echoes of the Oracles. And again, the name and the author of this deck is in the description box. She's an Etsy creator. Look within. Oh, that's beautiful. She's an Etsy creator, and I love this deck. I will be reviewing this deck when I do the Psychology and Self-Help Oracle review. I am posting videos. It's a series of videos to talk about all the decks that I own. I'm breaking it up because it's a lot of decks. But this is a wonderful deck. I turn to it often when I want really deep answers. And of course, being Ten of Swords, I wanted to pull it out for this read. So past energy, you have the Queen of Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles is quite beautiful. This is a very affluent queen. You see a harvest and you see pentacles, which usually means physical, mostly financial. I'm getting a very strong financial vibe. Now, what I'm kind of getting is, I'm getting a strong sense, if you're a woman watching this reading, and again, assign the genders as necessary. You know, you can be a same-sex couple, just apply it as it applies. But Queen of Pentacles, I'm seeing as very feminine, very earth mother. She's kind of the echo of the Empress. And wow, I'm getting very earth mother from all of this, guys. All of this. So if you're a woman watching this, we've got two tens. We've got two culminations of a cycle. Excuse me. So if you're a woman watching this, if you're in this energy, the way that I kind of read it is that if you're in this energy in the past, you're a very strong woman. You're a very independent woman. You're very nurturing in a financial way. So you could quite possibly be a mother. Maybe you've been financially supporting children or your family. And what I'm kind of seeing is that in the present energy, again, with it being two swords, I kind of get the sense that maybe something is coming to an end when it comes to the family. Maybe you've been real financially supportive of your family in the past. Maybe you've been supporting children. But something happened where you feel a little verbally betrayed, or it could quite possibly, one way to interpret this, maybe a child went on social media and kind of really reamed you out, even though you've been completely supportive to them. The other thing that I kind of read from this is that maybe you've been supporting a mother, and it could be an earth sign. It doesn't necessarily have to be, maybe it's a Capricorn, Taurus, or Virgo mother. But I am getting more of a sense of you being in that generous spirit to other people. And you've just kind of had, you feel like you've been obligated to family, right? Particularly I'm getting kind of a child, the way that everyone's looking around this baby. Maybe you feel like you've really, the Queen of Pentacles, I always say her love language is acts of service. And what I'm kind of getting is that maybe you've done a lot of acts of service for a family member. Maybe it was for a mother who's an earth sign. Or if you are a mother, maybe you've really the other thing is, again, with the Ten of Swords, maybe you've put everybody else's needs first. Maybe you've really financially supported them. Maybe you've always been reliable and been there. But you're not really getting much in return. Maybe people are talking trash about you, or for some reason you feel like you're being taken advantage of. The other thing is that Ten of Swords can be a doormat kind of feeling, right? And you feel like you're tired of taking hits for always being so reliable. Because the other thing is, if you are Earth sign, maybe people are relying on you for money. Maybe they're relying for you. Maybe family is always expecting you to be there, even though they're being crappy to you, you know? It's one of those things. I am kind of seeing a dynamic here where you believe in family. You believe in being there for family, especially in an emotional sense. And again, you're either there for a mother or you are a mother there for a child. But what I'm kind of sensing is that one third way that I kind of read it is that maybe in the past a mother has been really good to you, but then all of a sudden, that's kind of coming to an end. You've grown up and you're realizing that, you can't always be reliant on this parent. But I'm getting more of a sense that your reliability has been taken advantage of. Like, when you're there for someone, if they're legitimately in trouble, they can turn to you. But if they're turning to you just because they're out of money because they were frivolous with their money, or if they turn to you because they need to be bailed out, but instead of just honestly coming up to you and saying, well, I need to be bailed out, I wasn't responsible, they're turning around you going, well, you need to give me this money for this reason. You feel like a doormat and you feel like this person's taking advantage of you. And the other thing is that I feel like it's like, again, this being the last straw card, it's like I'm hearing the expression that just because we're blood doesn't mean that you can take advantage of me, is what I'm kind of hearing. And that's really kind of a harsh energy. And again, that's verbally harsh, which is swords and blood. But I am kind of getting that. I'm getting that you've worked hard and you care about people and you do like serving people, but you don't like being taken advantage of. And what I'm kind of getting is that I do kind of get the sense that family somehow is crossing the line right now. And it can either be a mother or you're a mother dealing with a child that's crossing the line with you. Now, as we go forward, it's really a good energy because you got the Ace of Pentacles. You got the Ace of Pentacles. And what I want to point out is this looks like a younger version of the Queen, right? So maybe you are kind of cutting ties. And the beautiful thing is that these are two tens and then we're going straight into an ace. You're ending a cycle. You're ending a cycle and it's almost like you're starting a brand new cycle. And you're kind of planting a seed of something new. I think you want to behave differently than you have in the past. You want a fresh start. You want to do things differently moving forward. The other thing is that I am getting kind of a sense that, again, you value family. You would do anything for family, but you're tired of being a doormat. You're not going to be abused. So if there's any family member that you feel like is really taking advantage of you, the other thing that I kind of get is that I do get a sense of there's kind of verbal slander involved. Like you feel like you've been stabbed in the back verbally by someone in your family. Someone's either talking behind your back or they've stabbed you in the back. Either that or they're making you out like you're not helping them. Because remember, the Ten of Swords is the victim card. Sometimes you can feel like, sometimes you can feel like someone is turning you into the bad guy, even though you've always been there for them. Now, one other interpretation, and just to throw it out there, is that maybe this could be like a new family thing. So just one thing to bear in mind, maybe if this is a blended family, like maybe if you're divorced and you've remarried, there can be a family member that may feel really betrayed. Like maybe you got divorced, you got remarried, and then because one thing I kind of see is that maybe you had a new baby and you're all happy with your new family, but your older child is feeling like out in the cold. So that's one thing that I kind of read with this is that, you could feel this could be a situation where someone might feel like, because you see how much warmth is in this. The other thing that I kind of get is that sometimes with blended families or with divorce and remarriages, all the financial goes to the new family. Like someone feels really cut out. So this could be that if you are remarried, this could be calling your attention to a child that feels like just stabbed in the back. Like, okay, mom, great, you were always there for me in the past. I'm no longer important to you because you have a new family, a new baby, and you're starting afresh with that family. it might, this is a caution. If this is your situation, it might be saying reach out to the person who feels like they're stabbed in the back. The other thing is that this person might be kind of quiet. Either that, or they might be on social media kind of giving kind of silent hints that they feel like left out in the cold, or they feel betrayed. But I do get a strong financial sense, like you're very strong financially, and it seems to stem from family. But the other thing that I kind of get is that, again, money and reputation is very tied here. And you might have a few family members who are crossing the line or talking a little bit of trash. And you've had enough of it, because these are two tens, and it's almost like you're going to start off with your own seed. You're going to take, okay, fine, if my the other thing that I kind of get is that if you've had an investment with the family, I do think that you've been very honest with your participation in that, and you're finally ready to walk away because you're tired of, I think you're tired of the verbal drama. Maybe there's been a lot of drama. Maybe you've been invested in some kind of family company or something like that. Your finances might have been combined with family, and other people are taking it upon them to make judgments about you or to cast you in kind of a crappy light, and you've had enough. You've had enough. You say, okay, I'm going to cash out now. Fine, if you're going to be that way, give me my one pentacle. I'm going to go ahead and plant my one pentacle and see what it gets me. So you're going to start. The other thing I kind of get is that maybe you're tired of the way that family is doing things, and you're going to walk away, and you're going to go ahead and do your own thing. You're going to plant your pentacle and live your own way. One other way that I read this is that maybe there was a big influence with your mother. Like maybe she was really kind of showing you how you manage your finances, and you finally say, you feel, maybe you feel like a little misled. Again, with tens being thoughts, maybe you feel like you've gone down the wrong path, and it's really stabbed you. Like it has not done you justice. So you're finally walking away from it. You're like, okay, there's some underlying things here that I don't agree with, and it stabbed me enough. Again, I'm done. I'm done. Right? Put a fork in it. So this could be you walking away from family, but I do get a strong sense of you cashing out, like you taking the one pentacle, because there's 10 here. She's the Queen of Pentacles. Here's the 10 of Pentacles. You're taking your one pentacle. And again, this looks like a daughter. It looks like a mother-daughter thing. You're taking your one pentacle and you're going to go ahead and plant it and see where you can go on your own. You're going to trust your own judgment. But I do kind of get the sense that you might be getting some censure from family, or you might be getting some censure for not staying in the establishment. But the oracle card that you got is Goddess Speaks, and this is really beautiful. Now, Goddess Speaks really talks about, it's like being an earth mother. It's like really kind of turning to nature. I get a strong sense that, the other thing that you see is you see kind of a sapling here, and you see a strong tree there. Quite honestly, what it might be is that maybe you were married. Again, the Queen of Pentacles is usually married to the King of Pentacles. Maybe you left a situation and you're starting afresh. Because again, this looks like the younger version of the same woman. I'm getting a strong sense that I'm hearing the phrase, you are an empress wherever you go. Whether you are a full-fledged empress because you're married to someone, or whether or not you're starting off again, So this could be, a divorce where you got a small settlement and you're starting anew. But you're going to end up the empress because Goddess Speaks. It's telling you, it's also telling you to get close to the earth. If this is some kind of failed business venture, it's telling you to start again and that you are going to be successful. But the other thing I kind of get is that you're very much an earth mother. Whatever it is that you do, it might be environmental, but you are going to be successful. The other thing is that Ace is a positive new beginning. It really is the start of something new. So if you did go through some kind of betrayal with family, or if you had to walk away from family, you are going to be okay. It's almost telling you that you're going to become that queen again. But whether that's single or because you're married to someone, you have the strength within you. I also get the sense that you're a really good businesswoman. You're a really good businesswoman. One other thing that I'm kind of getting is that if any family members try to put it into your head, like, oh, you'll never be successful without us, they're full of crap. I'm sorry. No offense to your family, but they're full of crap. This is a lot of, sometimes I see this combination when there's like a family business and you're doing your best to try to keep the family business afloat, but people are throwing a lot of tasks on you and then they're bad mouthing you about it. And it's one of those things like, I can do this, I can get to the same stature without your help. And it isn't that you're trying to downplay family, because family is very important. It's your foundation. But if family members are making you feel like crap, either that or they're dictating the way you live your life, sometimes that you've had enough. Again, put a fork in it. I can be the Queen of Pentacles without you. You could either, level up and be a supporting happy family, but if you continue to stab me, I'm going to go ahead and go my own way. But I got Goddess, and I've got the Queen of Pentacles, which is the echo of the Empress, which is an Earth Mother, and we got the Ace of Pentacles that looks like this daughter junior version of the Queen of Pentacles. So you're gonna be fine. I think you are starting again, because we got the Queen, then we got a 10, and then we got an Ace. You really feel like I feel like you're starting a new cycle, but it's almost like you're rejuvenating yourself, but you're almost doing it on your own terms. But I get a strong sense of success. The other thing is that if you look at her clothes, she's not wearing velvet. The other thing that I kind of get is that I think, I really get a strong sense that the universe is looking out for you. If this is some kind of business that you're starting, and I get a sense like it might be a little bit scary because you're starting off on your own. I do get a strong sense that after everything you've been through, it only gets better from here. I think the only way out is up, and you're going to be really successful. You're going to be, I think you brought to your family a talent that will take you far. And if that was not being appreciated, or if that was being abused, you're going to plant that seed for yourself, and you're not going to answer to anyone. I think you can be very successful on your own, and you can be a man or a woman in this energy. But I'm seeing a lot of feminine here, so it's almost like in your emotions too. The one thing is, pentacles are what you value. So this is what you emotionally value. But the goddess is looking out for you, and I think that you're going to be very successful. You're going to be very successful. Go ahead and plant that seed. Go ahead and the other thing is that, it might be a natural culmination of a cycle with family, and that's okay. That's okay. The other thing I'm kind of getting is trust in your own. You trust in your own knowledge. You know a lot. You know a lot. The other thing I'm kind of getting is that you almost feel like this young woman, but you were a queen inside. You were a queen. Can you please, you were a goddess. Recognize that. And I think whatever you do, you're not only going to support yourself financially, but I also think that you're going to be a great contribution to the world. And and whomever is making you feel like you're not going to be a success without them, walk away from that, because that is toxic energy. You don't need that in your life. But that's a really beautiful reading, guys, because the Ace is very positive, and you got the Goddess. You have so much Earth Mother energy. The other thing is, if this business is related to recycling or something that is sustainable, I think you're going to be very, very successful. So try not to be afraid. Try not to be afraid. It's a good ending of a cycle. All right, so deck number 3, we got the Linestrider Tarot by Siolo, Thompson, and we have the blue fluorite. Let me go ahead and move that over there. I'm just going to do a quick shuffle. Go ahead and see, how does the 10 of Swords manifest in your life? Let's see. Okay, so past energy, 10 of Swords, please. Oh my gosh, second time the High Priestess and the Hierophant. Holy Toledo. Judgment. Oh my gosh, guys, we have all majors so far. Future energy, please. Okay, future energy, please. Justice. And the Sun. Oh my God. And the Hermit. There are 78 cards there. How in the freaking world did I just look at 7 straight majors? Good Lord, guys. Can I just say ending of a cycle? Whew. Mind blown. All right, let's go. Sorry. Whew. Real spiritual pile 3, guys. And 3 is the spiritual number. It usually means Father, Son, Holy Ghost, mind, body, spirit, you know, thought, intellect, and, thought, emotion, and, sorry, I can't think of the third. Ooh, symbiosis. And I am getting Father time. Look within. All right, wow, guys. Whew, all 3 piles. This has been deep. This is going to be deep. Now, just to preface, and I've said this in just about every video, is that anytime you get majors in a read, major arcana is like they are major events in your life. I like to think of it as a gear of a clock. The small gears are like your hours, your days, your weeks, your months. The bigger gears are the years, the decades, and the actual kind of overarching life purpose of your life. So whenever you see something in a current or modern, spread that has a lot of majors, it means that this 10 of Swords is a major ending. It's a culmination of a cycle. What you're seeing across the board here is that there are bigger life events from the time that you were born to your life script, your life purpose. If you believe in previous lives, if you believe in God, there's a higher purpose to this 10 of Swords. There's a reason why, this pain had to occur, why this cycle had to end. Now, it's not saying that you have to be punished. It's not saying that you have to feel pain. And believe me, the 10 of Swords is a dreaded card for that reason. But what I am seeing, holy crap, guys, there is such a higher purpose. There's such a higher purpose to your pain. Oh my gosh, guys. In the past, you got the High Priestess and the Hierophant. These are the 2 most religious cards in the deck. The High Priestess is the guardian between the veil of the known and the unknown. The Hierophant is the religious leader, and you see the bear. And what it is the Hierophant is like the status quo. He's religious beliefs. He's the Pope, So what I kind of see is that I see in the past these parallels between... I am getting a strong... I'm going to come out and say it, guys. I really get the sense that maybe you were raised in a real, maybe you were raised in a little bit more of a structured Christian or religious environment, and you've bloomed or grown into a more broad kind of spiritual belief, which happens a lot. It happens a lot. A lot of people switch back and forth. Like the author of the Rider-Waite-Smith, Pamela Coleman Smith, she was very occultist and spiritual for many years, and then in her later years, she became Catholic and was Catholic to the time of her death. Here I'm kind of seeing the reverse. Maybe you started off Lutheran or Baptist or Catholic, some kind of Christianic belief, and then it later bloomed where you had a curiosity and an interest in other spiritual avenues. The other thing is I kind of see it like 2 ends of a spectrum. Sometimes a lot of spiritual belief, because they're not independent of each other. You can still be Christian and still believe in New Age kind of things. But I am getting a strong sense that whatever it is you believe, you are very knowledgeable. It's funny, the third pile has always hit me as you guys are a real juju pile in a good way. Like I get such a strong, like I just get a sense that you're very wise. The other thing that I get is that from your experiences in life, you understand so much about spirit and about religion. Maybe you study astrology, maybe you study different religions. I'm almost getting a sense that you know a lot about several religions. The crazy thing that what is it? The Hierophant is card number. I'm hearing the number 7. Do you know a lot about 7 different religions for some reason? But what I'm getting is that your basis or your root in either Christian belief, or the other way I kind of read this is that maybe you grew up in an environment that was very status quo. Maybe you had a family that said, okay, you must believe this. And, it doesn't necessarily have to be religious. Again, if you, like me, if you grew up in a military household, maybe you grew up in a household that is from a different country, and you adhere to their religious belief and culture and their traditions. Because the other thing I get is a strong traditional. The last thing I kind of get is that maybe it is structured or the status quo in the sense that maybe you were raised to believe, maybe in growing up, you had a strong root with your friendship circle, or you believe that friends, that your group really discerns what you believe to be true. And then later, what I'm seeing is that you began to challenge those beliefs. The root of your understanding was those, you were raised to believe what you do per your family's culture, or per your friendship circle, or per, maybe you, the other thing is it can be sports. Maybe you play sports and you're a big jock, and then later on in life you're like, well, I don't want to do sports anymore. But your time in that influence has taught you a lot and became the root of your higher understanding of it. And you branched out from this kind of smaller root of belief system. You've really grown and broadened. And what it was is this, I always see the high priestess as kind of the breakout. And it's funny, the Hierophant comes after the High Priestess, but anytime I see it in this order where the Hierophant is the root and the High Priestess is the bloom, it's almost like you started off in a little bit more of a structured, like this is what you do. You don't deviate from this understanding. And then later, it's like you became curious about the world. And your previous training in this religious belief really kind of allowed you to explore. And what it is you became a lot more open-minded. Or the High Priestess is the guardian of the known and the unknown. What she does is she goes out in the world and she views the 3D almost from an impartial stance. She sits on her slab and she looks at the world with a grand understanding of what's happening, because again, I am almost getting like a religious kind of stance here where, excuse me, I got the hiccups. You you started off in almost a more restricted and kind of regimented kind of belief system, and then later you took from that as you went out in the world, and it's like you understand the underlining meanings of what goes on in the world from both your previous religious experience and from your own curiosity. I do also think that you're very enlightened. It's almost like when you go out in the world, you don't have to, when you go out and explore, you get a sense of what's happening underneath the surface. You also have it's when moments, the other thing I'm kind of getting is when a Ten of Swords moment happens to you, it hurts, it's crappy as hell, it's like a little death. But with the High Priestess energy, it's almost like you understand the higher purpose of that event. You don't take it personally, you feel the pain. Gosh, guys, this pile, you're able to transmute the crappy, painful energy of the Ten of Swords and bring it into a higher meaning. It's almost like you understand why this event happened. You understand maybe you were betrayed, and instead of getting angry and vindictive, you offer that person forgiveness because you understand that that's the purpose of the lesson. You're so enlightened, guys. You're so enlightened. I'm seeing the lotus flower, like crown chakra blown up, you know? Because your current energy, you got judgment. You got judgment. And what it is that I really get the sense that it's not that this event doesn't hurt, but I get a strong sense that you don't react to when you have experienced closures of cycles before, and you understand that this is another closure of the cycle. The other thing is that I think you get a strong sense of where you're supposed to go next. And it isn't that this event doesn't hurt. The other thing is that I do think that you feel the pain. You know what I'm getting, guys? And this is crazy. And I'm feeling you. And oh my gosh, can I just say you are amazing? Have you ever seen those women who want to go through natural childbirth? And what they do is they start breathing and they start meditating. And what they are is it's almost like they're taking their spirit out of their body where they can't feel the physical pain. And holy crap, guys, is that what you're doing? That's what you're doing. You've been someone in their own mortal pettiness has stabbed you 7 times and mutilated. The other thing is I get the sense that they know that you're a stag. They know that some event or circumstance has done this to you, and you are this beautiful, majestic animal. And instead of being bitter, instead of you saying, let me go after the hunter that, stabbed me, mutilated me with 10 swords, you're using this as a calling to your next, you're becoming this angel. The other thing is it's almost like, I keep hearing out of body experience. It's almost like you understand the reason why this event happened. It isn't that you don't feel the pain. You totally feel the pain, but you're breathing through it. You're breathing through it, and almost like labor, you're detaching, you're removing yourself from your corporal form, and you're listening to you're listening to your spirit to navigate this painful event. You're saying, okay, what's my calling? What's the purpose of this pain? Because pain is a quick not a quick healer. Pain is a quick teacher. And it's almost like you're turning to in your knowledge, you're turning to the higher power and saying, okay, what was the purpose of this? Because I'm hurting, higher power. I'm hurting. I need to. You're breathing and trying to take. You're trying to psychologically distance yourself from the pain, and you're trying to understand the higher meaning of that pain. And I'm telling you guys, you're probably the only person on the face of the planet that would look at this situation this way. Because a lot of people would be out for vengeance. They would be, I'm going to badmouth the person who stabbed me 10 times. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to key their car. I'm going to stalk them. I'm going to troll them online. Not you. Not you. You'll be like, well, wow, I was betrayed. Is this my karma? Did I do this to someone in the past life? What can I learn from this? How can I move on? Since this is the culmination, I'm going to breathe through the pain. Can I just tell you that you deserve a freaking halo for this? Because Ten of Swords is not pretty. Ten of Swords is one of the crappiest cards in the Minor Arcana. There are no bad cards, but nobody likes to see the Ten of Swords. We always clarify that shit. Pardon my French. But you got judgment where it's almost like you're questioning what you did to deserve this. And the other thing that you're doing is the judgment is a calling. It's a calling. It's like, it's again, she's carrying a horn and she's carrying lilies, which is experience. It's knowledge. It's almost like you saying, okay, I've died this death. I've died this death. And spiritually, because again, High Priestess is the guardian of the 3D, which is your corporal physical form, and the 5D, which is spirit, which exists outside of the physical realm. It's almost like, okay, I've died in the physical realm. I've experienced pain. It's the 10. I can't feel any more pain from the circumstance. How do I grow? What's next? Why did I go through this? Please tell me. It's almost like you're questioning why. And you are in the dark night of the soul. Again, you are experiencing that death, but you're breathing through it and you're handling it probably the best way that anybody could. If this is a breakup, it is going to be one of those, unfortunately, cornerstone breakups that really defined your character. It will teach you a lot. You will be different after it, but you're the freaking high priestess with the Hierophant as the root, and you're listening to the angel of judgment. So you're going to handle this like a boss, guys. You're going to be different, but it's almost like you listen to your higher spirit, and you know you you're riding the waves of your spiritual journey like a freaking, like, gosh, again, you deserve a halo for this, because that's a lot of pain. The other thing I'm kind of getting is that I also get a sense that as you breathe through it, you are trying not to be vindictive. I think you do have anger from whatever circumstance or person has put you through this pain. But I do think that you are a very enlightened person, where you're trying to take no offense. You're going through the experience, but you will be changed from it. But you will grow from it, and you will regenerate. You will regenerate. Now, your future, oh my gosh, guys, this looks really bright. It looks really bright. You got the sun. You got justice. You got judgment and justice, which is a Libra card. And you got the Page of Wands, which is you're handling this like a boss. I give you mad props, because the sun is gonna come out. The sun is gonna come out. This pain is gonna end. Also, whatever you're dealing with right now, as you breathe through it, you're kind of going through, you're finally out of the woods. It's the energy is ending presently. And as you move forward, the other thing I'm getting is that you are going to have a really bright moment moving forward. I don't think it could be the amends of this person. I'm not quite getting that. I'm almost getting kind of something new, but I am getting a lot of self-esteem, other self-esteem, because with the sun and with justice, one way I read this is that I think first off, you're going to get your self-esteem back. You're going to find yourself again. Um, it's funny in the book, Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, in both the BBC version and in the newer versions of Pride and Prejudice, Jane Bennet went through a very bad heartache, and one line that always sticks out in my mind, and I always think of it when I see this combination of cards, is she goes, I am well. I will be myself again. And that's what I kind of think of when I see justice and the sun and the Page of Wands. It's almost like that little spark of, after you've been through a lot of heartache, after you've had a lot of hits that really takes an effect on the way that you see yourself, it's almost like you're doing your own thing again. And it's like, I will be myself again. Whatever this event is, maybe it was a relationship, maybe it was a person, I'm not going to let that past dim my light. You are changed by these events. You're never the same. But it's almost like that spark, that sun, that candle, that light that is you, is going to shine again. It's going to shine again. And I see this as, first off, is things getting happy again. You're not going to be hurting like this forever. The sun will come back out again. And I think of the song from Annie, the sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar. You will shine again. And the other thing is that I think you're going to get your sense of self again, because the other thing is the sun is the ego. You're going to feel like yourself again. The other thing is you're going to feel emotionally balanced. And the Page of Wands, I always joke, the Page of Wands is that jumping out of bed, like if it's the summertime and you have summer camp, it's the reason that you get up in the morning. It's something that you're really excited about, but you're excited like a kid, there's no maturity in this card. It's almost like you are going to get back to that stage of your self-worth, where you jump out of the bed in the morning and you go do the things you like to do. You post the YouTube videos, you do the TikTok dances, and you don't give a crap what anybody else says, because you're not hurting the way that you were based on whatever was done to you. You're being you. And I really get a sense, this is so beautiful, guys. I really get a sense of strength from this. And these are all 5 majors. 5 majors, and the page is like a beginning. It's like you not being, the other thing that I love about the page is it's you not being afraid to be a novice at something. Something annihilated you, and you're not afraid to start again and be vulnerable. Be vulnerable again. The other thing I kind of get is that you are spiritually aware enough to know that whoever did hurt you, if it was a person or a situation, is that you're not afraid that they're going to come back again and do the same thing to you. You're ready to start again on a very, very clean slate. Now, one other way I kind of read this is that if this was some kind of crappy event that took you out, there could be there if someone was trying to make you look bad, because the other thing is that this is a stag, which is a great leader. It's quite possibly, again, with the sun, you could be very vindicated in it. Maybe whatever wrongdoing comes to light and you were exempted from it, like, okay, you were shown as not being involved in whatever happened. Either that, or it's quite possible that whoever wronged you might make it right, but it's going to be in the cold light of justice. And I don't mean to say it as cold, but justice is, I've said it, if you get a chance, if you want to watch the How to Tarot on Justice, the beautiful thing about justice is it's like being in front of the judge. If you've ever been called to jury duty, if you've ever been to court, the judge is going to look at both sides, and he or she is going to make the verdict. God rest Ruth Bader Ginsburg. They are going to make the judgment as to what is right and what is wrong. Now, I also see judgment in a higher light, like the judgment of the universe, where if you were in the wrong, then you will be called for it, But if you were innocent, or if you did not do what you were accused of, or if you were subjected to slander that was not truthful, justice is going to vindicate you. It's going to call out the parties that subjected you to that slander, or to that defamation of character. And that's almost what I'm kind of getting here, guys. It's like I'm almost getting that you're going to be vindicated. Like if you were involved in something, you're going to be shown as being innocent or not involved in whatever took you out. But the most beautiful thing that I love about that is the Page of Wands it's a novice energy. It's a new start, and it's an innocent energy. It's almost like you're allowed to begin again without any. I do also think that you are very good at releasing this pain, which is also an accomplishment. I get such a God, you guys you are such a higher level. I want to be you when I grow up. That you are able to release. You're able to, what did they say? Let go of the bad and keep the good, and move on with your life. But the sun is the happiest card in the deck. Justice, when it's over the sun, I think that you're going to get a strong vindication. The other thing that you see is with the 2 oracle cards is you got Father Time and you got Symbiosis. And Father Time is a really beautiful card. Sometimes I do, when I'm in a frustrated mood, I sometimes get mad at it. But what it means is that time will heal all things. The other thing that I see is that anytime, if it is a legal case, or if it's something, if somebody has been talking trash about you or trying to tear you down, and again, with it being a stag, stags are leaders, like I mentioned in the intro about, I think of that scene from the movie The Queen with Helen Mirren. She makes eye contact with a stag, and it's almost like the stag is a king and she is a queen. She is a king, right? And, when you take out a king, this could be you being torn down for some kind of political stance, or it could be you that you were being the leader for something and you had some kind of public downfall. What it's telling me is that the truth will come out in time. You will heal in time, but it takes time. It takes time, right? The course of things. And again, with all these majors, And I talked about majors being the bigger gears of a clock. You have to let the bigger gears turn, and then later you will see the vindication. And sometimes I see the Father Time card, or I see Capricorn influence. Anytime it's one of those situations like maybe you had something stolen from you and you don't get it back until 40 years later, or some kind of court case gets drawn out and then it's decades before you actually get resolution. It's one of those things where, justice will be served, right? Justice will be served, but you might have to wait for it. But you're willing to wait for it. And the other thing about Father Time is that the universe knows what happened. The other thing is you cannot escape. Whatever happened, universe and God, whatever you believe in, they know the truth of what occurred here, right? And there's a lot of nuances. Sometimes events happen for many different reasons. It isn't always one person being malicious or, bad luck or whatever. But the eyes of the universe knows, the eyes of the universe and God knows, and things will be made right. It will be made balanced again. If there was an injustice, that injustice will come to light. Now, the other thing that I get from this is that symbiosis is a really amazing card, and I'm actually, I'm going to be reviewing this deck when I do the Oracle deck post for psychology and self-help. I think I'll be filming that next because these cards have really been coming into play lately. But to be honest, I get a little bit of a heart card from this. Anytime this image comes up for me personally, I do think of relationships. If there was someone that you used to cuddle with at night. So sometimes if this is a divorce, because sometimes the Hierophant can mean legal. You have Hierophant and Justice, so this could be a divorce from someone. But the other way that I read this is that if it is a fallout of a relationship that had a lot of verbal back and forth, sometimes whether they always call it lawyering up, but I always call it friendsing up. Whenever a fallout between two people, and then families start, your family and the other family start unfollowing the person, and it becomes really messy. And a lot of words are exchanged. Both persons are telling their side of the story, and it becomes really ugly. But what I kind of see here is I see Father Time is looking over the symbiosis, and there was a balance here. This is a very personal card to me. It makes me think of past relationships in those very intimate moments when it's late at night and you put your arm around someone, or you link hands with someone. When you hold someone's hands and they spread their fingers where your fingers interlock with theirs, and someone chases you to the edge of the bed. I think that what that tells me is you see. I think what it's saying is that the universe knows the love that was there. The universe knows the love that was there, and I think it knows the truth. It knows the truth of the situation. There's a truth of the situation that occurred before perception, before psychological, we all have our psychological damage, previous relationships or previous hurts. Sometimes Ten of Swords can be a little bit of sabotage too. But I think what it's kind of telling you is that time heals all wounds, and the best way to handle a situation is to not get vindictive. If someone hurts you, it's because they are hurt, and try not to strike back. But I definitely see a very bright future for you. The other thing is that I do think that you're going to keep those happy moments, those cuddling moments, those moments that served you and taught you things positive, and it's going to allow you to move forward. I also think that if there was any naysaying or anything that really hurt you and cast you into a bad light, that is going to come to light in a very fair way. And I think it's going to leave you with a freedom to move forward without any any residue from this past experience. But I do think that's a testament to your spiritual level of understanding. I think you're very enlightened, and I think part of this vindication is due to the universe smiling upon you for you doing the work spiritually, because that takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of forgiveness, and if someone else is not in the same place on their spiritual journey, sometimes it does take you should not have to compensate for their lack of evolution, but by you doing that, and again we talked about that with the 10, you kind of taking the hit as they learn. The universe is going to smile upon you, and you will get what I call kind of karmic brownie points for that. But this symbiosis card is, the other thing about the symbiosis card is it talks about, a symbiotic relationship is where, you and another person do completely two different things, but the output, I'm sorry to relate to this, but if you've ever seen sharks, there are little fish called algae eaters that feed off sharks. And even though sharks could eat algae eaters, it's what they call a symbiotic relationship. Sharks swim around and they build up algae. The algae eaters eat the algae off the shark, and in return the shark does not eat the smaller fish. Which sounds like a real weird analogy, but it's almost like that. I get from the symbiosis card is that maybe by you forgiving this person or this event, you are growing even more in your spiritual journey, and it is also giving that other space for them to grow in theirs. So it is a symbiotic relationship, and so that sacrifice is being smiled upon, even though you're taking more pain in order for the person to have, other person or circumstance to have room to grow, and that really does give you karmic brownie points. So kudos to you. The other thing is that you have a bright future for this. This pain is not for naught. There's a reason for it, and you will be okay. I also get a sense that this is not going to impede you going forward. This is not going to traumatize you, and that's much to your credit, because I think that's a testament to your strength and your understanding. But wow, guys, oh my gosh, pile 3 is always a really deep pile for me. But again, the 10 of Swords it's a scary card. A lot of people dread seeing it. A lot of people don't even want to learn about it because it's one of the, the top 5 least favorite cards. But I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope you got something from the How to Tarot. There are no bad cards in tarot, and the 10 of Swords, it really does. It reflects a lot. But I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you have a good week. I will be back again on Saturday with the weekly energy card reading. That is a video where we just talk about the general energies for the next 7 days. Also, I am going to try to post another deck review reading. Those are going to be more sporadic. I unfortunately can't give an exact date, but I'll try to post them when I can, and have them up for view right around the holiday season. But I hope you have a great week, and that I can catch you in the next video. See you then. Bye.